Day 20 of no speaker. So now what? Tonight, 9 Republicans are vying for the gavel, but do any of them have the 217 votes needed? Thanks for joining us at 7. I'm Shayna Humphreys. Republicans are hoping, with fingers crossed, to unite behind a nominee tomorrow, but we have heard this before. So who's in the race right now? The candidates are all men, and they are all members of the conservative Republican Study Committee. The frontrunner right now appears to be Minnesota's Tom Emmer. He is one of only 2 candidates here who voted to certify the 2020 election results. And what do the American people think about all of this? Well, a USA Today poll finds 67% say they want a new speaker as soon as possible so Congress can address wartime aid to Israel and Ukraine and avoid a government shutdown next month. Lot to talk about here, so let's bring in Republican strategist Jamie Roe. He's the founder of the Republican consulting company Team Roe. Jamie, thanks as always for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I wish I didn't have to be here to talk about this issue. It needs to get done.
Yeah, so let's start with your thoughts on this. I mean, we have heard from a number of Republicans in Washington, D.C. We just opened up the show with a soundbite saying this is embarrassing, but it seems like not enough people are embarrassed enough to get this done. So what are your thoughts on this whole debacle thus far?
Yeah, first of all, I think it was an absolute mistake for the 8 Republicans to join with the 210 Democrats to remove Speaker McCarthy in the first place. And since that time, I think it's exposed some deep fissures within the House Republican Conference, particularly when Representative Jordan was not able to corral the Republican votes and kept losing votes on each succeeding ballot. And it shows that they have to do something. And I think that there is finally getting to be a sense within the conference that this has to end, that there has to be an end game here. The stakes are just far too high right now with the horrible attack that happened in Israel, the president's request for a $110 billion supplemental to aid war efforts in Ukraine and Israel. And that has to be done, not to mention the fact that we have a government that is going to be out of money in 25 days. So they don't have any more time to waste. The good news that I've seen, at least on Twitter and social media over the last couple of days, is that they do not want to leave until this is done. I've seen any number of reps, including my Congresswoman Lisa McClain and John James from over here in Macomb County, saying that they should not leave town until a new speaker is selected. And I think that is what they should do, and they got to get this job done.
Well, they might be there for a while, Jamie. I mean, at this point, do you see anything that suggests that those divisions within the GOP there can be pushed aside, at least to get a speaker to that podium?
I hope so. I don't know. I will tell you this, that it is a very difficult precinct in which to run an election in the House Republican Conference. It is done member to member, and you have to keep people on board when you may not be their first choice. But I think what every Republican needs to do now is commit and pledge that they will support whoever is selected to be the conference nominee on the floor. I know that there's a big push on that right now. I know General Jack Bergman, who is running on the congressman from here in Michigan, who is actually running for speaker, has put forward that he will vote, whether he wins or not. He has pledged to support the Republican nominee no matter what. And that is the thing that has to get done, because if it doesn't, what's going to happen is that there are a number of people who I think understand the important work that has to be done that cannot be done until a speaker is selected. And at some point, there's going to get to be a deal cut with a small number of Republicans and the Democrats to select somebody who is not the first choice of the House Republican Conference. And quite honestly, that would be a disaster. And that has to be avoided.
So what would that look like? Do you think there's any chance that the Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, do you think is there any appetite within the Republican Party to to work with the Democrats to that extent, or possibly this other plan we've been hearing about to keep the interim speaker where he is for the time being?
Yeah, I've heard that floated. I don't think anybody likes the idea of keeping to empower the interim speaker beyond what the power that he currently has. I think there is zero chance that you will see a Democrat elected Speaker of the House, but I think that there is some chance that you could see a more moderate Republican elected with assistance from the Democrat caucus. And that would be a disaster for the Republican Party and cannot be allowed to happen. And I think that a lot of the people who were sort of ringleaders in the ousting of Speaker McCarthy are now seeing that they may well have miscalculated on this. And now is the time to come together and get this done. One other thing I think is helpful is that you've had President Trump, who endorsed Jim Jordan when he was running his campaign for speaker. He endorsed his election, and it didn't make a difference. And President Trump this time has reached out to most of the people who are running, and has said that he's going to sort of stay above the fray and let the members hash it out on their own. And I actually think that that is helpful. I think what would be very helpful also is after the conference has made a choice that President Trump come out and endorse that choice. And that would hopefully bring the conference together and let us get on with the business of governing.
Well, speaking of endorsements, we have still been hearing quite a bit from former Speaker Kevin McCarthy in these past chaotic couple of weeks. And as we mentioned, the frontrunner appears to be Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota, who does have Kevin McCarthy's endorsement. How valuable is a McCarthy endorsement right now?
Well, I think it's helpful because there are a lot of people within the conference that strongly supported Speaker McCarthy. You had 210 Republicans that voted not to oust him from his speakership. He's very well liked and very popular within the House Republican Conference, and I think that his endorsement means a great deal. With Representative Emmer, he has won 2 conference elections already. He was elected by the conference to be the chair of the National Republican Congressional Committee for the 2022 cycle, in which we won the majority. So he did leading the campaign arm. He helped lead us to a majority, which is important. And he also won the conference election to become the House Republican whip, the majority whip. So he's won twice in that difficult precinct. And I've heard that he is the odds-on favorite again. But I think what's going on right now tonight, as we speak, they're having a speaker forum, and in advance of the election, which will take place tomorrow. And with 9 candidates, it's probably going to require multiple ballots. So it's tomorrow all day. I think it's going to be like sitting outside the Vatican waiting for the white smoke to come out of the chimney to know that we have a nominee. So when that happens, the most important thing that has to happen is the conference needs to unite around whoever it is, whether they were their first choice or not. And we need to get this job done and get on with the business of governing.
Yeah, well, we will be watching closely for any of that white smoke. Republican strategist Jamie Roe, thanks for joining us tonight.
Great. Thanks, Shannon.